You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? Caitlin Clark, the fix is in. That's right. Caitlin Clark, the fix is in. Want to cover that. I also want to talk a little bit about Christine Brennan and the book that she wrote that kind of put a stamp on the title, Caitlin Clark, the fix is in. We can put a question mark on it. You comment, let me know what you think. But this is a story of the book that went around. But I dug a little deeper and I wanted to know more because the whole entire, from the beginning of last year to beginning of this year, really have been puzzled trying to establish what is the WNBA trying to accomplish, what is Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever trying to accomplish, and where are we missing the boat in today's market. Title IX was established, was passed as a law for the betterment of women's sports, to give women an equal opportunity, to remove yourself from a male-dominant environment and say women have just as much credibility. Here's the deal. Caitlin comes along, Christine Brennan, in Title IX, and you're dealing with a reporter, correspondent, somebody that's been around for 4 decades and covered the game. Not only covered the WNBA, that's just the tip, covered the NFL, covered Tiger Woods. I mean, she's done a lot of coverage, journalist from Northwestern University. And she said she picked it up when Caitlin played Indiana and Iowa. And it led to me to say, okay, what's really going on? What's the story? And apparently the story came back that the CBA, the Players Union, blackballed Christine Brennan for her energy and effort to really tell the truth of what's really going on in the WNBA. And to ask, is the fix in? Now, when you have a situation like this, I use that title openly to tell you, go back to the Chicago Black Sox, right? They playing baseball World Series. They fixed the World Series. Caitlin Clark has been under scrutiny, has been under pressure. There's been many questions been asked. Is she hated by WNBA players or not? Well, as the story was getting ready to be written, and it goes all the way back to Dejanay Carrington getting poked in the eye, and how the WNBA with the media and the access of wanting to be able to find out what is the truth in the story. And that's what Christine Brennan was attempting to do, but the WNBA Players Union revoked her credential, her media credential, and she was also going to close in covering the women. This is really bizarre to me because when I look at situations like this, I have to point and I have to say, who is behind the fix? Who's behind the fix? Because the way Christine Brennan's explaining it, she's saying everybody's in on the fix. And everybody's trying to keep me out so I don't tell the story. But she went on a media tour telling the story. And it's an interesting story because it allows, as she was saying, and she mentioned it and said, coming from the NFL, which the NFL is the highest brand, it's the highest shield. There's no sport that's going above that. Controls Sunday and has been doing it over 100 plus years. But the accountability of athletes, and what Brennan wanted to do was get a follow-up story on the poke of the eye, but the WNBA Players Union wouldn't have anything to do with it. And it was really a little bizarre because her theory behind all this is, why Caitlin? How did Caitlin get chosen? And she feels that the players in the WNBA, which calculated a number, I said 63%, 74% of the players in the WNBA are black, African-American players. And she referenced the label of why it could have been Maya Moore. It could have been Candace Parker, right? It could have been Cheryl Swoops, right? It could have been Cynthia Cooper. I mean, it could have went 100 different ways to say the greatest player of all time. But from a godsend, in comes Caitlin. And it looked like what she is basically letting us know that the fix has been in, and it's been in for a long time. Now, the fix can go 100 different ways because we've been mesmerized by the WNBA officials. And why are they making these calls? How can they do this? This is affecting the integrity of the game. Well, when you look at it, she came and really said, you know, the WNBA was unprepared for scrutiny. The WNBA was unprepared to answer the tough questions. The WNBA chose to ignore it and cover it and put a fix in. And she's saying that fix ran deeper than that. To me, I was supposed to cover the game one of the WNBA finals for USA, and they pulled my credential because they don't want me to tell the story, is what Christine Brennan is saying. And they're saying the fix comes from the top to the bottom. She's saying when Diana Rossi, Caitlin Clark was speaking so high of Diana Rossi, and on the other end, Diana Rossi was tearing her down. She looked at it to say she spoke highly, Caitlin Clark, of Stewart and Asia Wilson. Behind, they were tearing her down. It's a collective bargaining agreement, a CBA, that's coming along. Now, for Caitlin Clark, Money Mike, I'm Mike Walker, and I cover the WNBA. That is an agreement that doesn't fit Caitlin Clark, the CBA. And for Caitlin, the fans have said, why don't you start your own league? Well, the league is started now. It's the Caitlin League because it's the WNBA. And I'm telling everybody in a rude awakening, if the position point today is 74% African American, that's going to change because at the end of the day, the balance is off, and the way the treatment, the fix of everybody coming from different angles is really caused a really panic and really is getting back to Christine Brennan to what she's really trying to let us know. She's letting us know that it's not one individual, it's not two, it's a multitude of individuals. And to start at the players union, right, with Jackson who's leading that charge, and to have someone from Northwestern that's covered the game, covered the NFL, covered Tiger Woods, right? You've covered this. You've covered Serena Williams. I mean, this goes back deep. And why would they pull her credential? Why would they pull her credential? That's a tough one there, folks. You know, and you got to the women's Final Four. She brought it out that Caitlin. We talked a lot about viewership, but it was about the Caitlin outdrawing the men by 4 billion viewers. See, it was all the WNBA with Christine Brennan is bringing a premise to is there was wanted to have someone else chosen to be the face to represent the WNBA. And the WNBA have found a fan base that has taken off, which Title IX was the intention. That's what the intention of Title IX was, for women's sports to have the success. Now that you have the success, the question now is you're managing and dictating who's going to receive that success. And when you do that, that's called the fix is in. It's not being chosen, and that's why it looks so openly confusing. And you look at that, and you look at the battleground that's been upon. I mean, she brought up some serious questions. She said, Brianna Stewart, you know, you're speaking high, but you're not speaking high on the other end. I mean, you got UConn, right? You got UConn speaking over there that is not looking at Caitlin Clark. You got Gino sitting over there that's saying Caitlin Clark fans are delusional. She's nowhere near this game. This thing here, folks, this is a barn burner because the individuals who are pretending not to be involved are standing right in the middle of this. Why wasn't it me? We're not going to honor her. We're not going to give her the award. We're not going to put her on the Olympic team. We're going to foul her, beat her, battle her. You talk about a fix is in. And it goes back all the way when you got Cheryl Swoops. You're talking about going through a full-on media to minimize Caitlin. You're talking about ESPN. You're talking about a lot of people here, folks, that have been really Christine Brennan was really been on the tour calling them out, saying, hey, this thing here, this is beyond a revelation that's took place. The Caitlin Clark, the viewership, everything has been designed to block Caitlin Clark. This story is one that you will have to think about. And when you look at the Title IX and you look at Christine Brennan, it's been 4 decades covering sports.